Now, as we reach the final days of the election campaign, it seems like the cringe-worthy posts from the candidates are getting worse. Let's take a look here at Labor candidate Ali France. She's contesting Peter Dutton's seat of Dixon. Just inspiring stuff there. Now, when it comes to weapon-grade cringe, the Greens are among the worst offenders. Let's have a look at Greens leader Adam Bandt's work.
With a baddie friend, with a baddie friend. I love seeing two bad friends.
Okay, there's worse. Take a look here at Greens candidate Mandy Nolan, who seems to think that if we get rid of coal and gas projects, we will somehow be able to fund health and education better. And she also thinks she can cap mortgage payments.
You know what would make sense? If we got dental into Medicare and we had a limit on mortgage and rent increases. And we stopped opening coal and gas mines in the middle of a climate crisis. So we could fund health and education and make sure that everyone has a secure home.
Prue, this is just fantasy material. We perhaps should start having some truth in advertising regulations when it comes to the Greens.
Well, it's astounding that there isn't truth in advertising. This whole campaign has been a campaign of fabrications, misinformation and lies. The ads that we see ad nauseum are all lies, and yet they're getting away with it. Where is the consumer protection? And you've got these influencers who apparently have a brain. I have yet to determine if they do, but they're going to squeal the loudest. You know, that last one said nothing changes if nothing changes. Well, if they actually do vote in Labor and the Greens, nothing will change.
You know, Rita, what's sad? Well, I mean, we sit back and I often laugh at these ads, but it's frightening. Some of these people may actually get elected, and if someone like that is elected, that's the scary part. So as much as we'd like to mock and make fun of these ads because they are ridiculous, with some demographics they work and it's scary.
And they're going to squeal so loudly when they can't power up their influencer, you know, spotlights and post it and charge their phones. They're going to wonder what happened. Well, they deserve what's coming to them.
Well, they'll blame somebody else. They'll never take responsibility that the very policies they advocated for has brought about the pain they're suffering. Now let's have a look at this bit of satire from the days when the chaser was actually funny. This is why people used to vote for the Greens before they became, I don't know, what do you call them these days, far-left extremists?
I felt disillusioned and let down by the two major parties. That's why I voted Greens.
I'm an inner-city trendy who's never had to deal with real issues like drought, transport or having to run your own business. That's why I voted Greens.
I'm trying to get into the pants of this hot hippie girl who's into dolphins and shit. That's why I voted Greens.
I'm a cool hipster from Melbourne who always goes against the grain just to look alternative. That's why I voted Greens.
I was just stoned on election day. That's why I voted Greens.
Tina, they used to be a joke. We used to mock them, but really you look at them now, you look at the policies they advocate for, the anti-Semitism, the hostility to Australia. They're a dangerous party and they may hold the balance of power. In fact, that's possibly the most likely scenario as the polls stand tonight.
And all these young people that, you know, are rushing to vote for them, what about the inheritance tax guys they might introduce? Honestly, you're all going to think of the future, think of your inheritance, think very carefully before you vote Green. Although I haven't seen, they're not moving too much in the polls. Hopefully their vote will drop this election, Rita.
Now, Housing Minister Claire O'Neil has distanced herself from 10 potential volunteers linked to the Chinese Communist Party in her electorate of Hotham. A Chinese-Australian Labor member who describes himself as a friend of Miss O'Neil reportedly used an intermediary to gather 10 Chinese Australians to staff polling booths on election day. And this all comes amid claims of possible foreign interference involving Till MP Monique Ryan in the seat of Kooyong. Prue, there are approximately 1.4 million Australians with Chinese ancestry living in the country right now. It's a pretty significant voting bloc.
Well, this is the problem, and both parties, well, all parties want to court them. The diaspora has quite a powerful influence. And what's concerning is the contradiction. So we have Claire O'Neill saying that this Mr. Xi, who is associated with the Communist Party in China, volunteered to supply volunteers, but then he's said that no, her office reached out. We've got Andrew Charlton, who's accusing Liberal volunteers of being part of the exclusive brethren. And we have, as you said, Monique Ryan, who's seemingly having, or for some amazing reason, these Chinese are again volunteering for her. So there needs to be a whole investigation, I believe, into this, because it's quite dangerous. And when we have political parties who are potentially being influenced by the Communist Party of China, then we're in for a really bad time. So it cannot be ignored. This is very significant and we need an investigation.
Tina, is this part of the reason why the Albanese government is so soft on China, even as their warships are in our territory? Because they know there's 1.4 million voters with a link to China, and some of them, maybe many of them, do have some feelings of allegiance, and they don't like to see criticism of China.
That's true. There's no doubt that Albanese is very careful not to ruffle China's feathers. Look, traditionally, a lot of the Chinese voters in electorates are conservative voters, but as you say, there is this strong pull to the home country. So, yeah, Albanese is really tiptoeing about the whole of China, and I think this is something Dutton again didn't capitalise on to show our strength of the countries we'll stand up to. I mean, there's so many things during this election we should have been more firm on, Rita, that will be no doubt looked at closely after the election, when sadly it's all too late.
Well, we've been talking about it for weeks. Even before the election was called, we've been talking about the coalition being bolder, being stronger, being clear in how they differentiate themselves from Labor. And there are so many policy areas where they could have done that. Energy being right up there, immigration policy, population policy. If they came in saying we're going to slash immigration by 50% because we cannot cope with 500,000 people a year coming in as they did under Labor, I think that would have spoke to the electorate, but they have just declined to do that. It's been a bizarre campaign as far as I've seen. Before you go, ladies, I wanted to bring you a bit of a Meghan Markle. It's been a while since we've talked about the Duchess. She appeared on a Friends podcast this week, a woman who's even more annoying than Meghan. Her name is Jamie Kern-Lima. And here, I mean, the whole thing is just so painful. I've just picked one little clip. Here she just talks about just what a incredible work ethic she has.
My gosh, I work so hard and I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard. And I'm still working hard, right? The moment that everything sells out, it doesn't mean that we're done. Yeah. It means we're working on replenishment and what are the next SKUs and what's the next tranche of products and what's the timing on that and writing the newsletters and writing the social media captions and making sure that all that feels in line and what's the cadence of it and what's the photography that we want to do and what do I want to wear for those shoots, while also editing all the time-coded notes for season 2 of With Love Meghan, and then being in edits for the podcast and being a mom and a wife and a friend.
Yes, the work ethic must just be grueling. Writing social media captions, deciding what she's going to wear, being a mum. Prue, it's too much for me. There's only small doses of that podcast I can consume because
I think you did
it's just too painful.
Lasting that long. I mean, it is so. That is enough to make you go to the toilet. I've got to say, it is revolting. That woman is just something else. So he's made his bed, poor H, as she calls him. What a silly boy he is, and he's going to learn the hard way, I think.
It's just exhausting watching her, and I love how she rabbits on about her children and her love of family. How long since she's spoken to a poor, sick father? Yeah, such a hypocrite. It's exhausting and hard to watch, Rita.
and separated Harry from his family and did it whilst his much-loved grandmother was ailing. I mean, let's not forget that. Prue McSween, Tina McQueen, thank you so much for your time.